Hello everyone, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today about diabetic retinopathy. My name is Mr. Mokashi. I'm a consultant ophthalmologist and cataract surgeon and vitreoretinal surgeon working at University Hospitals of Leicester, and I also work at the Stonygate Eye Hospital on London Road in Leicester. Broadly speaking, when we talk about diabetic eye disease or diabetic retinopathy, because the main area of the eye that diabetes causes problems is in the retina, we talk about proliferative diabetic retinopathy and diabetic maculopathy. Proliferative diabetic retinopathy is a condition where as a result of the diabetes and the damage to the blood vessels and a general lack of blood supply to the eye, the retina is not getting enough oxygen and to meet its metabolic demands. As a result, the diabetic eye disease process causes abnormal blood vessels to grow on the surface of the retina, and these abnormal blood vessels can cause all sorts of different types of problems. One of the main type of problem we see with the diabetic abnormal blood vessels or proliferative diabetic retinopathy is when the blood vessels can break and bleed into the back of the eye. This is what we call a diabetic vitreous hemorrhage, because the blood goes into the vitreous cavity in the back of the eye, and that can cause quite significant loss of vision. And the symptoms of that might be something like a sudden shower of black dots or floaters in the vision, and then quite a significant clouding of the vision as a result of the bleeding. The other thing that can happen with very advanced proliferative diabetic eye disease, where the abnormal blood vessels are growing, is in addition to the abnormal blood vessels, scar tissue can grow on the surface of the retina. And as that scar tissue tightens up, it can start to detach the retina in areas because of pulling of the retina away from its attachments in the eye. And that's what we call a tractional retinal detachment. And that's quite a serious eye condition that requires quite a complex surgery to treat. What you can have in those situations is an operation to try and remove the scar tissue from the surface of the retina. As with most diseases, prevention is better than the cure. So one of the ways in which patients can, or one of the main ways, as all of your diabetic patients I'm sure are aware, that they can prevent themselves from getting into issues like this, is having as tight control of their diabetes as possible, also controlling their blood pressure as well as they can, and having not smoking, because that affects the health of the blood vessels, even the ones that supply the retina, and also having as healthy a lifestyle and taking regular exercise as possible. So the other spectrum of diabetic eye disease that's most commonly seen is what's called diabetic maculopathy. And maculopathy refers to diseases that affect the central part of the retina, otherwise known as the macula. And that bit of the retina is the most sensitive bit of the film in the back of the eye, which is the light sensitive layer called the retina. And if that macula becomes affected by diabetes, what often happens is there's a fine network of blood vessels that supply the retina in that region. The blood vessels can start to develop leaky areas in them, and patients can get what's called diabetic macular edema, or swelling in the macular region. And if that region is affected by swelling and the structure is changed because of swelling, then that can degrade the quality of the vision. The main way of preventing that is tight diabetic control, healthy lifestyle, no smoking, and good control of blood pressure again. Okay, so it's really important to, for all of us to be educated in terms of how we can best control our diabetic risk to prevent getting diabetes, or if we've already got diabetes, how best we can liaise with the wider diabetic team to make sure the control is as good as it can be to prevent eye problems from it. One of the mainstays of treatment for both proliferative and diabetic retinopathy, where the abnormal blood vessels grow, and the maculopathy, where the leakage occurs in the center, has been laser in the past. We still use a lot of laser treatment to reduce the drive for the new blood vessels to grow when they are growing. That reduces, by lasering the retina, you reduce the retina's demand for oxygen and metabolites, thus hopefully shrinking the new blood vessels away. But occasionally that's not effective and further treatment can be required. For the maculopathy, laser used to also be one of the mainstays of treatment, but nowadays, and many diabetic patients will know that in order to treat the swelling in the central retina, it's very common nowadays for patients to receive injections of what are called anti-VEGF drugs, which reduce the leakage of the blood vessels in the retina and try and reduce the swelling in the retina. But sometimes laser is still used for selected patients. Overall, it's important to understand that diabetic retinopathy or maculopathy secondary to diabetes causes significant visual problems if allowed to progress unchecked. It's one of the major causes of sight impairment that we see. There are other causes that are more obviously cause more sight impairment, but we see a lot of patients who have sight impairment due to diabetic maculopathy, and the best way to treat it is to control the disease process itself. Although we can do things to address the condition in the eye, it's always better to try and maintain the health of the eye and maintain as good a blood supply to the eye as we can by controlling the diabetes as well as possible. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Len and I am 14 and I live in Leicestershire with my family. I am wanting to speak to you about an amazing charity called Vista. I am reading from my laptop as I suffer with memory issues. Although I've only been with them a couple of years, they have really helped. My personal story begins in 2015. I was at school practicing with the netball team for a next tournament when all of a sudden I took a funny turn. I began to feel really ill. I had a migraine and was hallucinating. I went home straight to the hospital and I began to have a stroke-like seizure that lasted for 8 hours long. When I came out of the seizure, I was left with a couple of extra needs, one being vision loss, although we did not know this at the time. So on the 18th of December 2018, I got diagnosed with visual impairment. So for 3 years, I had a real struggle with falling into roads, often spilling a lot of drinks and leaving a mess wherever I went without realising. I struggled to see anything that isn't directly in front of me, and I have no peripheral vision. I also struggle to see depth and colours that are not contrasting. After I got diagnosed, my family discovered Vista. They have helped me so much. I am now a long cane user and I'm proud to be so, thanks to Vista. We go on outings to all sorts of places like the Snow Dome, and we sometimes go out for a meal. We also do stuff closer to home, like talent shows and cooking and lots of independent skills. Thanks to the support of Vista, it's helped a lot of my confidence grow and helped me become a happier and more sociable person. I've made lots of new friends that are a lot like me. Please make a donation today to help a better tomorrow and a brighter future for someone like me. Thank you.